Welcome back to my channel, Custom Scrapbook Design by Christy Stubbs. Today is week 3 of my Scrappin Saturday series. And this week I am still using the Sugar Plum collection by Pretty Little Studio. I'm also participating in the open collaboration that is being hosted by Jillian Norwood. Be sure to go check out her YouTube channel and all of her great ideas and creations. And then also all of the other designers who are participating in this open collaboration. Search the hashtag satmornmakes and that'll bring up all of the other designers' videos. And there are some wonderful creations out there, so you definitely want to check those out. So let's get started. I've got my tray of ephemera and words here. I haven't added anything new. These are the packs that I was using before, so I'm hoping to be able to utilize stuff within that tray. There's quite a bit there, so I would hope that I could find something that'll work. I have a general plan in mind, and I have already pre-cut my photo mats, and I've got 3 of them here. And the white mat is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And then the pink mat behind that is actually 4 1/2 by 6 1/2. So if you've got a 4 by 6 photo, you'll be able to lay that right on top of this mat and have a white and a pink border showing. So you can see it's going to coordinate well with the papers that I have here. And we'll see if this is what I actually end up using. I'm not good at pre-planning, as I've mentioned before. So I'm going to set these aside and we're going to get started. I have pulled 3 pieces of paper from my stash, and these were actually Cartabella something home collection that I had. So I wanted to be able to use the greens. I thought that the greens really pulled nicely from this little leaf section right here. So we're going to be using that as our background. And we're going to use 2 of the lighter color. And then we're going to pull in some of this darker color after a little bit. So the first thing that I thought we would do is use the tearing tool. I'm back to the tearing tool. If you've been following me, you know that I use this quite regularly, it seems. I don't know. I haven't in my own personal scrapbooking used it a ton so far, but apparently I'm kind of on this little tearing tool kick. So I want roughly 2 1/2 inches. So that's kind of what I'm measuring, just to kind of get close to that 2 1/2. And we're going to go ahead and rip that if I can get a good hold of it. This is some nice, strong paper. So I want a border for the top. And then I also want one for the bottom. And for the bottom then, I'll be able to use this tear that I just made. And then I'm going to cut this at roughly the 2 1/2 inch mark. And then we'll have the matching top and bottom. And you can see that's a little crooked, it looks like, but that's okay. That's part of how I tore it. And then we're going to go ahead and tear that again and utilize for the 2-page spread. Again, remember we're going to do 2 pages. So we're going to try and get that around the 2 1/2 mark again. And it's hard to tell if you're straight across there, because the ruler has got so much of a curve and bend in it. So that's going to be close, and you really have to hold that down firm to get a good start. And there's our next strip. And then again, we're going to just take and cut that off at roughly the 2.5 mark again. So, and then we've got this little strip left over. I'm not sure if we'll use that at all later or not. So we're going to, before I bring back in the base, we're gonna go ahead and do some inking. Of course, again, if you've been following along with me, you know I like to ink, so pretty much always pull out my ink pad and dauber and do some inking, just to lift those edges a little bit more off of the page. Kind of helps them stand out a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and ink these. Okay, so we've got that all inked. Now I'm going to bring back in the green. And again, I think I'm going to go with this light green for the base of the page. And we're going to take, got to watch the mice and make sure they're going the right direction. Hopefully I got them all torn so that they are. We've got this one who's going to go at the bottom. These cute little mice peeking out in amongst the flowers. And I don't see one on there. And then I see one at the bottom here. So that worked out perfectly. I think we're going to go ahead and attach those. And it looks like my patterned paper might be just slightly wider than my solid paper. So I'm going to go ahead and hook those down, and then I'm going to go along and cut those off, and then we can re-ink that edge. So we'll go ahead and hook these down. Okay, so I've got those hooked down and also trimmed the little bit that was hanging over the edges. And then I went ahead and re-inked those. Now there's a couple spots where I've got this paper sticking up just a little bit because I used my tape runner to put this down. And I'm gonna go back after I'm all done and probably use a little bit of wet adhesive and tuck it under here. But I don't want to do that just yet because you never know whether or not you're going to want to tuck something under there. So for that reason, I'm going to hold off on doing that. And then I wanted to just kind of lay out the photo mats where I thought they were going to go. Now, in my original plan, I was going to do one photo on one page and then 2 photos on the opposing page. And I'm kind of liking how that turned out. I didn't think about how close these were going to be as far as just about ready to hang over on this decorative paper, but I think that that works just fine. Or it may be when it comes time to putting these down that I may end up kind of offsetting them and putting them on top of that patterned paper. So we will see. So far, that's kind of the plan. Now I want to take this dark paper and I want to run a piece of that down the center, and I think I'm going to go approximately, well, I've got almost 4 inches there. I think I'm going to bring that down to about 3. I had thought in my kind of initial trying to lay this out, I had thought about fussy cutting the scallop piece out and lining it on both sides of the dark paper. So if I do that, the scallops are, boy, they are about 7/8 of an inch tall. And if I was thinking roughly about 4, I think 2 is going to go too small. So let's cut this at 3, and we'll see how that looks. And we want to leave it at that 12-inch length, and we're just going to trim that down to 3 inches. And I've got just a tiny sliver of that strip going across the bottom. And this has got a white core, so that white shows. But due to the fact that I always ink everything, you're never going to notice that. So let's see. Yeah, that is even just a sliver too long. So we're going to trim that again. There we go. So there's with the dark running down the center. And then okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut this pink polka dot out, and I'll find another one, maybe this pink plaid, and then probably this patterned piece here maybe, and either the striped or the hearts. I might try and stay with the pinks and kind of the blues, or if I utilize this one and this pink one, maybe more of all the pink tones kind of going down the center. Although we do have that pink matting that is going to lay on top of that. So it might be nice to pull some of the others. I'm going to fussy cut a few of these. So I will do that and speed this up for you so that you don't have to watch all of that, or you can watch it in a much faster speed. And I'm just going to cut these apart before I start the fussy cutting process. I do believe I'm going to be tucking these underneath, so I don't have to cut them exact unless at some point I decide to change my mind. But we can just kind of set those there, and it gives you a rough preview of what that's going to look like with the scallop. And now, since we're just kind of rough looking at it, I'm not measuring or centering anything. We're just kind of eyeballing it to see if this idea is even going to pan out. And I think that it will. I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut these. Okay, we're going to take a peek here and see what we think, if this size is going to work before we cut the next one, just because I do only have one more piece and I want to be darn sure that this is going to work how I want it to before I cut it, just in case I need something, just in case I need the piece a little bit bigger or anything. I don't want to ruin my chances of being able to use that if I want to. So I kind of like the stitching on these. So there's so little to cover with the dark and still show the stitching, but I think it's possible. And now that it's laid out on here as well, you can see that the scallop piece is going to need a little trimming on the edge, and that's not a big deal. I think we'll hook that down and then do the trimming. That way we don't end up trimming too much off of there. But that essentially is what that is going to look like. And let's see. I'm going to pull this piece because it's got the fun little crisscross stitching, but I don't know how much of that you're actually going to be able to see once I get it on there, because I don't want that white paper that was below it to show. So that, I'm liking the looks of that. I think that that looks nice. Let's grab a photo mat. And so this was, so the photo mat going this way almost covers every little bit of that. And then when we do our photo mats this way, of course we cover all of that. But we may kind of offset those, and then you've got the scallop showing both ways, which I really like the looks of that a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and carry on with this plan. So let's cut another piece that matches, and it was 3 inches. And then we'll go ahead and ink this piece as well. Okay, we've got that piece inked. I'm going to set that aside. I think we probably won't need that till close to the end, when we maybe have to touch up some of the inking on the outside. So I think to hook this down, I'm going to use my tape runner. And you could do this one of 2 ways. You could do some glue. I am not really good at using the wet adhesive in my actual scrapbooking, at least not very often. I may actually add some to this layout when I get it done, but for now, just because of the ease and being able to adjust and move this around once I have it set, is the reason why I like to use the tape runner. So you can see how that was stuck until I pulled it up. Let's try that again. And I might not be close enough to the edge. Let's try this other side and see if I got it closer. Not really. Okay. We're going to try. Yeah, I can see I didn't get my tape runner close enough to the edge. So I am going to tack that down, turn it over, and see if I got it lined up straight. And lo and behold, I actually got it pretty darn straight. I think I'm going to run with that. All right, we'll see if we can get so lucky on the next side. We'll try it this way first, and if this doesn't work, we'll improvise and go the other way again. Sometimes you just have to try and try again until you get it to work for you. And it appears that that is not gonna work. So to get this straight, all right, we're gonna try something else. I'm gonna try a couple little clips. And I'm gonna line that up. And the problem I'm having is I really literally only have less than 1/4 of an inch of overhang, more like 1/8 of an inch of overhang here. So there's not a whole lot to be able to catch it. And I'm wanting to get it straight because I think I'm insisting on using the stitching on there. I just think it adds a lot. So I'm going to try that. Try hooking it that way. And then we're going to come back and go over that joint with the adhesive. And I think that looks pretty good. So let's add a little more adhesive to the ends and to the middle. And then I'm also going to add a little bit to some of these scallops. Again, I'm not going to get carried away just in case I end up wanting to tuck something underneath there. And we've got our mouse the right side up here. And I am not going to measure. I am just going to eyeball the top to bottom. And I think we're safe to pull this clip off. As you can see, we're overhanging here, and that's okay. And we're overhanging on this end. And that's all right. We will take and just run that through the trimmer to pop that little bit off. Clean that right up. And we'll just do that on both sides. And there we go. There's our one side. I think we're going to go with our photo mat roughly right there. I think I want to lift it up a little bit. Yeah, I think we'll lift it up. You can see we're overhanging just a tad here still, so we'll trim that too towards the end. Let's go ahead and stick that down. And if I change my mind, we'll be able to lift that up if we want to, because I'm kind of famous for changing my mind. You can see I'm pulling it in a little bit already, a little further from the edge. So I'm just going to lightly push that down. And I think that's how that one is going to stay. And then we're going to pull the second one, the second one over here. And we're going to repeat that fun process of trying to get these to stick. But I think we will try the clip again. I think that worked pretty good. We'll see. So again, I want to try and get that stitching in there. And like I said, it really does not leave much overlay of the solid cardstock onto there. There's just a little sliver that we're catching is all. Okay. Looks like I've got the stitching fairly uniform all the way across. And I'm going to go ahead and just put that adhesive down across the back of that and hold that into place so I can take those off. And then we're going to go ahead and do that with this other one. Okay, looks like we've got that pretty good. Flip that over, put that adhesive, going right down that joint of the two, and that'll keep those connected. Again, they're a little long, not worried about that. We'll fix that later. The only thing I want to do is make sure I've got the mouse on the right part. And looks like this pattern paper, all of the candy canes are upside down. So I'm going to turn this direction so that they're right side up. And again, I'm just kind of eyeballing it, but before I do that, I am going to bring this other one in since they're a 2-page spread. Darn, I was super close on that. And kind of line those up. They're not going to be this close together in an album, but I do want them to flow across the 2 pages. So I think we've got a good flow there. And I don't think I added, nope, I didn't add any extra adhesive, so I'm going to just go ahead and lift that up, put some down underneath on that side, and then we'll lift this side up, put some along the edge here, and then a long strip kind of down the middle. We've already got the adhesive at the joint. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and trim this one just like we did the last one, and this time I was lucky and got them both on the same end. So I only have to trim the one end. Okay, now we're ready to make sure our mice are going the right way. And I did it backwards on this one. We want that mouse facing the right way. Let's see. The mouse is down here, so I've got those the right way. And I don't want to cover that little mouse, so we're going to go up with this one. And I haven't pushed that down at all. I want to get this other one ready and make sure on the spacing. And I do like the looks of the spacing. And you can see I've got a little scallop down here showing, so I want a little scallop up on the top showing. That's how I am determining where to place this. And then I tried to make sure that I've got about equal distance on both sides. And then that just determined what that center space was. I didn't necessarily want them evenly spaced all the way along, but I do want to try and get them straight. And just because of all the torn paper and kind of everything being off, it does kind of mess with your eyes a little bit as far as getting that straight. This one. Oh, this one I'm just really torn on whether or not I want it centered. And I kind of think I do, even though there's not much scallop top or bottom showing, but We're going to kind of balance that out. And I'm going to leave this area off to the side here for potentially some ephemera pieces or some die cut pieces. So we've got the basic layout. Let's look at these, and then towards the end I'm going to go through and use some wet adhesive and kind of hook down some of this loose stuff. So let's see what we've got here. Do we want to add a phrase or a saying anywhere? I'm not going to lift that just yet. This is why I use an adhesive that can be moved. I tend to change my mind a lot. So let's see what kind of phrases we have to be able to use. Oh, I kind of like this. 'Twas the night before Christmas. And then we've got the little mouse on here. I think we'll use that. Stick those off to the side and see what other kind of ephemera pieces we want to use. I'm already leaning towards lifting this up and moving it. I'm just going to set it there. I'm not even going to push it down because I may change my mind again. Thinking maybe like that. Maybe along those lines. I'm really liking all these greens. All the different shades of green really look pretty together. And again, I'm working on this layering. I've mentioned it before that I'm not particularly great at it, but I do want to practice. I would like to get better at it. So let's see. Different color pinks, but I don't think that's a big deal. Maybe we'll put the green there, different shade of green. And then maybe we'll end up with the pink one over here for a little labeling. And here's another green one, polka dot one this time. Now, I don't know about you guys, if you're real good at doing journaling, but journaling is honestly the #1 thing in scrapbooking if you're going to be passing this book on for generations to come. You are not always going to be the one who is going through the book with whoever may be looking at it and being able to tell anyone who the people are in the books, maybe what the story is. So this is where journaling comes into play. And it's so important for you to actually document the pictures. So you always want to put, you know, if you're doing Christmas and it's all the same Christmas, you know, obviously you don't need to write the year on every single page. You kind of do it at the beginning and maybe again towards the end to kind of do as a stop point for that particular journaling bit. So you want to make sure you definitely talk about maybe what you were doing, maybe some of your traditions, maybe something you did a little differently this year. Did you bake cookies? Did you go to a play, a show? You know, did somebody special come for Christmas? Like there's all of the things that you need to document. And it's always good to write label who is in the picture too. And always somewhere throughout, it's good to write first and last name at some point. Just because, again, as these get passed down through the generations, you want the book to tell the story all by itself. All right, so I've got lots of ephemera pieces pulled already. Let's see what pieces are going to work and what pieces aren't. And I pulled this mouse. So it was the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. I kind of think that's cute. So we're going to use that for sure. Okay, so now that I've got my options pulled, we can take a look at what is actually going to work. So I'm going to slide that up, slide all this ephemera off of here, and lay it out. And we'll kind of practice this layering technique together. See if we can get this down. Okay. Need to get the rest of that off of there so we can see better. I know I want that sleeping mouse there just because I think that goes really good. We're going to layer that little candy under there. Let's take a look at these and see which ones we kind of like the best. I'm thinking I want to pull some of this red into this area because I think I want to use this tag here. And if I use that tag, it's got a lot of the red in there as well. And we might just line that tag up right there. Got the piece of candy there, got the mouse there. And we've got a bunch of the greenery. And I think even under that pine cone, we're going to add a touch more. We might slide all of that over just a little bit. See, told you I wasn't quite ready to put that down. All right, we might tuck a piece of candy there. And layer that candy a little bit there. Maybe even add a candy cane. Kind of stack that all up. We've got our floral arranged nicely here. Pulled a little piece of the candy there. Go ahead and stick a bow there even. Okay, so I'm kind of liking the way that this side is. We'll get some ribbon and put on that, and I might even, I was gonna say I might mat it in the pink, but I think I'm gonna pass on that because that pink's gonna be layered on top of these two other pinks. I think we'll just ink that, and that will probably give us enough to pop it up off the page. And then I think over here, we're gonna take and pop this up. I just barely want it overhanging the pictures because I don't want it to interfere with actual pictures when it comes time to be putting some photos on there. So let's take a look at these. You know, I was kind of bent on using these, and now I don't know. Unless we put one here. And I think we'll leave that one there. I think, oh, there's a few more of them up here. Let's see. Dark green's out. Actually, I think we'll use the stripe over here. And we could put it underneath the white layer. Okay, so that one's good there. And we don't want the Santa because he doesn't really fit in. I don't think the stamp fits in at all. We could do another little tag here. If we've got one tag here, we could balance that out and throw a tag up here. Now this one I might actually matte in some pink. I think that that would be okay. And then we've got the candy kind of coming across here. We've got the florals there. Maybe add a few more candies, kind of carrying across that bottom and pulling all of that together. And then we've got the poinsettias balancing these out. A couple tags on both sides. I think looks really nice. Don't think we need any more florals. I kind of like the way that that looks. So we're going to go ahead and put those florals to the side. And as far as the candy cane, I don't think let's see. Just take a look at that. Yep, we can kind of layer that up as well. So I'm liking the looks of that. So let's go ahead and do some inking and get everything laid down on here and finish this 2-page spread out. Finish it up. Okay, I've got that fussy cut. I think that that just helps to pop that off the page just a little bit better. We're going to go ahead and ink really lightly, just kind of highlighting the edges of that. I don't want it very dark because I do want it to be that pink, that pretty pink color. So we've got that, and then we're going to go ahead and ink these couple of die cuts, the candy pieces, only because it helps that white edge kind of pop off of that background of that patterned paper. Okay, so let's go ahead and hook that down. And again, I'm going to use the tape runner versus the wet adhesive just because I may end up moving this or tucking pieces underneath, which is kind of what I'm foresee happening, is tucking some of these little die cut pieces underneath of there. So we've got the candy cane, the wrapped candy, and the peppermint swirl. Only now, I had those all laid out before, but they're not laying out quite the same way. There we go. I think that that looks fairly good. So we're going to use the tape runner again for those pieces, just because, as you can see, when I placed them the first time, I didn't place them exactly where they ended up being to begin with. So with the wet adhesive, if I set that down, I'm pretty well stuck putting it right where I laid it down just because of it being wet. So we'll go ahead and set. Each time I lay it down, it seems like I do it just slightly different. Okay, so we've got this piece set, and it looks like this is just slightly crooked. Lift that up and maybe straighten that out. And then we've got this piece here that we're going to go ahead and hit just the edges with ink, and I'm going to tuck that under the white mat instead of the pink mat. And let's go ahead and get this photo mat set down exactly where we want it. And actually, it looks pretty good right where it's at. I'm just going to give that a good press down. And then we've got all this greenery off to the left-hand section of the page. And we're going to go ahead and ink the edges of that. Make that pop off that green just a little bit. And I've got quite a bit tucked under there. So I think we're actually going to cut some of that excess off just because it's not being seen anyway, and it's just making the photo mat a little bit on the uneven side, so it's just as easy to pop that off. And again, we're just going to use the photo tape to tuck that under there. Pull the rest of those pieces out and we'll get those inked. It's a little more difficult or challenging to ink some of this real skinny stuff because it tends to want to just bend. So I'm not really hitting every little edge, just kind of highlighting some of those edges. And it looks like I've maybe spaced all of this just a little bit differently again. Let's see. Yeah, that'll work. And then we'll hit the pine cone with the ink and some adhesive. Okay, I like the looks of that. And then this poinsettia, I'm going to just hit kind of the tips with the inking, not really get too wild with that. And then I'm going to use some foam tape on that. So with the foam tape, I tend to always glue it down. And I know it's got adhesive on it, but I don't trust that adhesive is going to last over time. So I like to use some wet adhesive with it. And I'm going to double that up. And I'm going to put it right at the bottom of that photo mat so that your picture can still be tucked underneath of there. I think that adds kind of a fun little layer. See, and then your photo will sit on there like that, and it'll go right underneath that popped up poinsettia. So I like the looks of that. I actually think I might pull that bow off of there. I'm going to set it to the side just in case I change my mind and decide I want to put that back on there, but for now, we're going to pull that off. I'm going to slide this candy right there. And then we'll ink this. And I'm going to ink it fairly heavy because It seems like it really wants to blend in, and hopefully by inking it really heavy, that'll help pop it up. And then we're going to need to find some ribbon that will coordinate well. Yeah, that looks nice. And I think we're just going to actually find a white piece of ribbon if I've got one handy here. Okay, so we need to pop a hole in here. And then we'll feed that ribbon through, and I got enough for both tags, I think. So I didn't find the center when I was pulling that through because I want to try and have a long piece left for the other tag. And you want to be real careful when pulling these through, not to pull so tight you end up ripping through the tag. I know this from experience. I have done that a few times. Even knowing that, I've still managed to do it a time or two because you just end up pulling a little too hard. Okay, so we're going to hook this down. And again, I'm going to use the tape runner on that. I'm going to use quite a bit though. And I think I'm actually going to lift that up. I like the looks of that lifted. Right. Okay. I think this side is done. I like the looks of that. Let's pull in the other side and get all of our ephemera pieces, all the garbage off of it. Get all of our ephemera pieces inked, and then we'll put those down. So I'm going to go ahead and ink all of those real quick. The struggle. Okay, there we go. Yay, finally. When you have it double layered like that, you can tug on it just a little bit more because you've got a little more strength with that paper. So there we go. That one's going to go up there. I think we're done with the ink. I'm going to push it to the side. And I'm not going to put the lid on that glue just yet because we're going to use the photo tape on this too, because I want to lift this up. Or the foam tape, not photo tape. So we're going to lift this up with the foam. I'm going to put a couple pieces on there. I kind of want to look at how I want to set that. Make sure I don't cover too much of the photo mats because you never know what the pictures are going to have, and we don't want to cover any faces or anything like that. So I think we're pretty safe. We're pretty high up on this corner, and I think that that'll work just fine. So just to show you again, the photo will fit in there just like that. And then it'll fit on that side as well underneath there. I kind of like having that overlay on there. We've done that the last couple times. I was not done with ink. We've got to hit both of those with a little bit of ink. I just thought I was done. I think I've got enough of my dauber here to do it though. Doesn't have to be super heavy. And then I'm going to use the photo tape, and I think I'm going to try and go underneath that white mat again. I kind of like having that break up the photo mats, and that looks crooked. Something's crooked with the edge of the page. we'll do the same with this one. We're going to sneak it underneath that white mat. I've got that one a little crooked as well. Okay. Okay, and we need to hook down this candy down in this corner. Remember, we're carrying that candy theme kind of from the other side. So I want to tuck a little bit of that into the mat. Okay, now we just need to stick this tag down. And we're going to put that tag right up there. Okay, let's take a look at those side by side and see what you think of the final product. I am actually really loving this layout. I think it turned out really well. We're going to skip that bow. Even with all the challenges and the fussy cutting, there was a lot of fussy cutting in this 2-page spread, but I think all in all, the end result was worth it. You know, I did end up covering up a lot of it throughout, but I really like the looks of this. I am going to grab that glue quick, and we're going to hit some of these little corners that are up, and we're just going to hit those with some glue so that they aren't a problem later on. You know, we're done sticking everything, pretty well sticking everything down. Nothing else needs to be tucked under anywhere. So by gluing this down, we're just going to ensure that this stays looking nice. So 'twas the night before Christmas, and we've got our little mouse. Oh, I didn't hook the mouse down. We'll just glue him down, because, or her, I guess she's got a little bow in her hair. I'm not going to move her either. So there, she's glued down. You don't see anything else sticking up anywhere. So it looks like everything's trimmed good. So thank you once again for sticking with me. Week 3 of my Scrappin Saturday series. I'm really enjoying this, and I hope that I have inspired you or given you an idea that you can scrap lift. And if you are not subscribed to my channel already, please do so you can follow along with the Scrappin Saturday series and any other content I may put out there. I appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time out to follow along as I scrapbook. Hope y'all have a great weekend. Thanks so much. Bye for now.